I would like to say that this is the chance we have to talk about many important things, including our childhood dreams and fantasies, and having our cake and eat it too, as you so eloquently posted.
It's on Facebook for me, right? I want to see this.
Absolutely. All right, your turn.
So,
and I have to admit that I have always had a hard time as superheroes because, first of all, the word comic implies humor.
yes.
And I've never found anything really particularly funny about guys in spandex running off to fight evil.
Think about it. They look funny, guys in spandex.
Well, I guess there is something to that, yeah. But I just always found it to be an oversimplification of the world, which basically distills it all down into good versus evil. And so I think that we all have elements of both in us, and we all subscribe to infinite shades of gray in between merely good versus evil or heroes versus villains. So my question to you is, how do you what's the word I'm looking for? How do you process something like that actually divides science and fantasy into such richly disparate pastiches?
Oh man, so superheroes, first and foremost, I despise Superman. He is the worst thing ever.
Even though he's the original?
Even though he is basically the original.
Yeah.
Everything up until the point where, and this is kind of where I feel it's just wonky from a science, like physics standpoint, is he can run faster than a speeding bullet, jump buildings in a single bound, right?
Right.
The second you jump into the air and you can change the vector of your movement and begin to fly, is kind of what breaks all the physics then. And I mean, I know there's a bunch of other superheroes that do that, but Superman would just be ridiculously cool if he had realistic superhuman powers.
Right.
Like, oh, let me just bench press a semi-truck. That's really cool. But let me bench press a semi-truck, shot put it across the universe, fly faster than the universe.
That's right.
Then,
What you're describing is fantasy, and that it's unlimited, the kind of things that could be created with our own imagination.
Yeah, and that's okay, that's fine. But when you get to the point where there's no rationalization, like with Star Wars and stuff, I feel like some of the stuff they do is a little out there. I mean, use the Force, midichlorian. It's a cool concept. I like it. Do I think that's plausible? Not necessarily. I can't stare at someone and say, "You're going to give me your drink right now, right?" Mm-hmm. No, it's not going to work.
Right.
Because you clearly love that.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So you can't do that. But with like the hyperspeed, all that stuff, like I think that's cool. I think at some point we may be able to have the technology to perform such acts.
Right.
And that sounds really cool to me.
But that's where fantasy becomes science, because of the imagination of some really passionate young nerds put it together, and they believe it and may find a way, just like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates. Yeah, okay. Right. And then that's going to lead me to, I enjoy the fantasy aspect because it gets me thinking more. I like the action. I know it's not realistic, but the idea of fantasy kind of gets you away from the norm, this prosaic world we live in, right?
Right.
And, like, at times, it's okay to live in said world.
Yes, but Phil, what about the differences between Star Trek and Star Wars? There's the eternal dichotomy there, and I have to admit that I'm more of a Star Trek person because it seems more intellectual and it seems steeped in science. But yet you were telling me some interesting theories about it for yourself. So what do you love about Star Wars?
So I enjoy that. I cannot remember who said the quote, but magic is science we've yet to comprehend is something I've always thought.
Ooh,
I've always
like
held
that.
dear. Yeah, I've always held dear. And I enjoy fantasy because it gets me thinking. We already discussed this over our micheladas and all that junk. If we could just negate gravity, maybe we could go back in time, and time travel could be slightly possible.
Right,
Not sure. No one's gotten back to me yet.
Time travel is possible in our minds, as Carl Sagan used to say. Remember, he had the starship of our imagination, because we could never actually go the speed of light, but we could come close theoretically.
With what I enjoy about Star Wars versus Star Trek is I enjoy, like I said earlier, all the action and everything that comes from Star Wars.
You like to see a good fight.
I love to see a good fight. We had this whole conversation. General Grievous is the commander of the droid army. He was blown up. Like, that's cool. I like all these different ideas coming together. But then I go to Star Trek, and I'm not bashing Star Trek in any way, shape, or form. Internet, do not misconstrue my words, okay? It just doesn't fulfill this adventurous spirit inside me. I'm rather ephemeral, as Sam here put earlier.
That's right.
And I just want everything to be outstanding and amazing and energetic.
And fun.
And fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Star Trek isn't fun, and I'm totally going to agree. If you look at the stuff that they were doing on Star Trek back when it came out in, when was this?
64.
In 64, they had the idea of cell phones, they had like smartwatches, they were ahead of their time.
Mm-hmm.
We have stuff now, 50 years later, that they had back then, that they had conceptualized.
Actually, beam me up, Stellani. You have yours on you now?
No.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Oh, I wish.
But anyway, I was going to ask for a visual. But so I understand what you're saying is about fun and adventure and all that stuff.
Oh goodness, what is that?
Is that yours?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere. Oh.
No, I was sitting on.
Oh yeah, don't even worry about it. It's fine. far more.
Was that her calling?
That's Nisa, yes.
Oh, okay. And she's probably just wondering where you are.
I know.
Why are you not here now?
It's okay. Look at it. It's Phil, but it's Donald Sutherland.
It's Phil, but it's Donald Sutherland.
Oh goodness.
I still want to show you that full scene in its
sure.
essence. So when I first met you, I was really impressed because Carl Sagan is the commonality, the common glue that pulled us together in the first place. Anyone who likes or respects Carl Sagan, I think, is by nature a science lover, and I just think anyone can make the argument, any thinking person, that Star Trek adheres to science more than Star Wars, because Star Wars, as you said, is more about the adventure. Star Trek is, more about the science, not 100%.
Yeah.
But it still has the adventurousness into it, but it just feels a little more. How should I say, not reality, but just more natural.
I would compare it to Star Trek. Star Wars is science fiction, where science is the base. Both of them are going to be science based, some way or another, whatever.
Yeah.
So, science fiction is Star Wars because there's so many things that they do in there that's kind of out there, again with the Force and all that.
Right.
Okay. But I would lean towards science fact.
Mm-hmm.
Pertaining to Star Trek, because they are far more grounded in science than fanciful ideas.
Right.
And I just really like fanciful ideas. I want something.
So tell me how you merge that, because you are both. You love superheroes and you love Star Wars and you love adventure and you love a good fight, and yet you also love Carl Sagan and you love the study of biology and what was the not engineering, but the other
physics.
Physics, of course, physics. Tell me, as a man of physics and as a man of science, how do you equate those two, and how do you differentiate those two fields of thought?
So between my love of fantasy and my love of
science and
okay.
biology, yeah.
And for fantasy, it doesn't necessarily always pertain to like Dungeons and Dragons. Fun game, by the way. It doesn't always pertain to dragons and monsters and all that stuff.
But does it have to have a hero and a villain?
It could. It could be a regular hero.
It could, but does it always have to?
It doesn't always have to.
It doesn't?
It could always just pertain to some grand adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not really many. There's actually, I cannot remember who.
Like young Tiberius Kirk, when he was first going into the military academy and deciding that he was going to go off and
sail the stars.
Sail the stars.
Yeah.
Just like Galileo did, 500 years earlier.
Yeah, and is there a bad guy? No, not at all.
Right.
Like,
right.
I mean, I guess you can run into like Romulan, whatever. You know?
Wow. That is the nature of vaping with a deviated septum.
Yeah, horribly deviated septum, mind you. It's horrendous. Majestically, yes.
Cosmic. Some would say cosmic, even majestic.
Yeah, it was pretty majestic.
It's very cosmic, some would say.
That's right.
That's Phillip Hettel.
Oh, thank you. That's me. How you doing?
Do you have any words to say after you've done that? I mean, you must be obviously proud of it.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. It should be proud.
Asymmetry of it all.
Yeah, I know. It's very Pablo Picasso, or rather avant-garde masterpiece my nose is. I wouldn't trust anyone with rhinoplasty. I don't know what else to do.
That's right. That's right. And what would you say about it?
I think it's hilarious sometimes.
Thanks. That's great.
It's fun.
She's on your side.
You don't like that. You don't like that. You don't.
Yeah.